Hi there, I'm Eric Wordweaver Sjerven, Goldie of the Ridgar folk here in East Texas, and I'd like to welcome you to the Raven's Call. This is a show where I ramble on about different heathen-related subjects, just kind of whatever strikes my mind at the time, strikes my fancy, sets my mind on fire, all of that. If you guys like these videos, if you like what I do, you like videos like this, please hit subscribe down below, ding the bell. It'll keep you up to date on everything that I'm doing. It'll also propagate more heathen-related videos in your feed. The more you interact with the videos, the more like them you will see show up in your news feed. Down below, you're going to see all my contact information. You're going to see my email, my Saraha, my Facebook group, even my Twitter handle, which I'm terrible at Twitter. I keep saying I'm going to go back and learn more about it, but realistically, you'll see what you see. It's laughable. But I'm on there if you want to follow. It's up to you. So give me feedback. Let me know what you guys like. Let me know what you don't like. And we'll see what we can do to continue to build this channel into something that everybody can benefit from, that has a little bit of something for everybody. So I also take viewer requests. Please, guys, send those in. They help me to, pick out where to go with the channel. I get all kinds of ideas bouncing around in my head. But in the same, I love to answer some pinpoint questions for you guys. So hit me up, let me know, and I will do what I can. Okay? Now today we're going to talk a little bit about the Havamal. Now everybody and their dog has done a Havamal video. The most simple format for it seems to be that everybody goes through, pulls out their favorite translation of the Havamal, reads it stanza by stanza, and then talks about each stanza as it goes along. This has been done to death, guys. I'm not going to sit down and read the entire Havamal to you. It just doesn't seem to be as entertaining to me. Yeah, it's fun. We can do study session stuff like that. I don't mind talking about different lore-related aspects, and I plan to try and venture into that some in the future. It'll obviously take a little bit more prep time and things like that. So I'm going to try and figure out when's a good time to do that, when I have opportunities to do that. A lot of these I kind of fit in where I can in order to keep up with the production schedule. So here's what I want to talk about with the Havamal. And you guys can see in the background, I've got these papers up all over my wall. It looks like a beautiful mind in here. And there's Havamal quotes everywhere. Everybody's been asking me, hey, can you go through and talk about the individual Havamal quotes on your wall? I might throw that in at some point. I don't know. I might tag it onto this video. I'm not making any promises on that yet, just simply because there's a lot of different ways that we can go about that. First off, I want to talk some about the Havamal itself and kind of my viewpoints on the Havamal. Okay? So the Havamal is one everybody is acquainted with. It's one that's easily memeable. You can stick it on a cool picture. It makes great quotability because it's short. Each of the stanzas will fit onto a placard, and you can throw it up there on some vaguely Viking-like picture, and suddenly you have heathen inspirational memes. I mean, that's essentially what it is, and which I like. I think it's cool because there's a lot of wisdom within the Havamal. However, there's some things about the Havamal that people need to take into account when we do this. The Havamal itself, well, let's talk a little bit about what the Havamal is, for those of you that don't know, which at this point in time is only going to be some of my newbies, and even then, I'm willing to bet most of you are acquainted with it, because, I mean, heck, the, let me see here, one of the most quoted ones ever is stanza 77, cattle die, kinsmen die, thyself each soon will die, one thing I want will never die, the doom over each one dead. That's actually not the one that I wanted to pull from. But anyway, it's an example. I just grabbed the wrong paper off the wall. But that's an example of, you see these things pop up. They're easy to plaster all over everywhere. So you're familiar with them. You've seen them, As such, it's really easy to get some misconceptions about what it is. Okay? So, essentially, yes, I do have a little card here, because you guys will see in the video, in the bloopers on this video, it's taken me forever to get this video done because of so many interruptions and just botched introductions. It's ridiculous. So essentially, the Havamal itself, which is the sayings of Har, are said to be the words of Odin as put forth in a poem. In vast majority, it's the longest of the poems in the Poetic Edda, and it's in didactic format. And it's broken up into essentially what are 5 different sections, because it probably wasn't all one poem when it first started out. It was probably separate poems that were all kind of put together. A large part of the theory is that the poems largely come from Norwegian background, most likely. I know that there's, we know of some of the stanzas existing as far back as the 10th century. I'm sure that a lot of them go back further, but that's what we've got, hard evidence for. At least we did. It may have gone back further. I haven't updated my research on that one yet. So I may be a little behind on that. And the first section is broken up into just some general advice, goodly behavior, good hostliness, good guestliness, general, moderation, things like that. And it's, it's just kind of a how to be a decent human being, which is cool. There's a lot of really good information in there. There's a lot of good advice. And if you take it from within a heathen worldview, and you take that into context, the Innengard versus Utengard, and how those things interact, keeping in mind there's going to be some syncretism within this poem, because so much of it was written down after conversion, and a good bit after conversion, that it's gonna have some Christianized elements in there. I mean, I think this one comes from the Codex Regius, and that's how it ends up into the Poetic Edda. So, like I said, the first section is that general kind of etiquette and behavior. Stanzas 80 through 90-ish are more proverbial in nature. They take on a different kind of cadence and meter. And then you get to sections, stanzas 111 through 137. That's the Lay of Lodfafnir. This one is said to be telling of Odin's wisdom directly to his Thul, Lodfafnir, and this is where you get the "Hear thou Lodfafnir and heed it well." He's giving some specific advice to Lodfafnir, and there is some redundancy across some of the poems as far as some of the elements of advice, kind of the bullet points, as you were, that feed into that. And then you get into stanzas 138 through about 146, which is the Runetal. It's kind of how Odin came upon the runes, the retelling of that particular aspect, where he sacrifices himself upon the tree. It's a wonderfully poetic telling of this particular story, and as far as I'm concerned, it's the best of them because of the way that it flows, especially with the nature of what the runes are. I love the way that the Havamal puts that forward, and it's very quotable and good one to memorize and recite if you're looking for that. The last section are 18 magic charms that are said to be, and this kind of ties in with the Runetal thing. It's all the runes section at the end, but there's the Runetal, which is the origin of the runes, and then of course the 18 magic charms that Odin knows, and that kind of finishes out the poem. It's very similar to what you'll find in Sigdrufamol and in Grogaldr. It's the 18 magic charms is referred to as the Ljodatal. Ljodatal. If I can remember to put in a graphic for it down there, I will hopefully do that. We'll see if I recognize my visuals here. So yeah, that's kind of the gist on the 5 different sections of what comprise the Havamal in and of itself. It's mostly done in the Old Hather meter, which is what is said to be used largely with wisdom verse, because it is wisdom given by Odin, or Har in this instance, to the masses in different forms, because I don't feel like each and every one of the poems is directed to the same audience. Like I said, I feel like it's probably 5 different poems, or at least 4 different poems that were all kind of thrown in together. Probably 5. But again, I don't have any hard evidence on that. That's just kind of what I get from my reading and from my reading through the Havamal itself. Now, let's talk a little bit on the nature of the Havamal. Like I said before, it's vastly a poem that gives you some great advice, and how to do things and how to be a good guest and how to not overstay your welcome, don't drink too much, things like that. There's some general themes that tend to run through it. Things like how to be a good friend, how to be a good guest or a good host, things like that. There's some general advice for life about being wary, about being prepared. There's a strong theme of moderation that runs through it all. And there's some great advice that you can take from this, keeping in mind the differences in time, region, and worldview. If you look at the Havamal just from face value and don't take into account differences in worldview, culture, region, things like that, you're going to end up with kind of a skewed vision. It's not something you really take at face value. It's something that requires some deeper thinking to really look at it and find the grains of wisdom in there, because there are going to be some things in the Havamal that don't necessarily jive with modern day. A lot of times people will try and throw out that the Havamal is very anti-female because there's some specific stuff in there about don't trust women. You will look, there's also a large chunk of don't trust guys, don't trust, the friends of your enemies. There's a lot of be wary of who you trust kind of thing. And so, there's some back and forth on that. And this brings me, that particular point brings me to one of my big, red flags when it comes to overuse of the Havamal, is that this is not a heathen Bible, guys. All right, this is not like the words of olden given to us. This is a poem written by people, most likely by men, who wrote it down at various points within history, and it all kind of came together into what it is. Or it could have been one guy putting it all together. I don't know specifically. Evidence leans towards multiple, but whatever. The gist is that it is a creation of mankind. It is a creation of inspiration of the gods through us. I do think that there is great wisdom held within here. I think whoever wrote these different poems pulled in together into the Havamal were touched by the gods in some way, giving inspiration that is wise, that is true, and there's a lot of really good stuff to this. So it's fine, in my opinion, and keep in mind it's all my opinion, to utilize the Havamal in this nature, but I think it's folly to over-depend on the Havamal. To try and sit there and dictate heathen morals and values to someone else based on something you read in the Havamal, I feel is probably not the best route to take. Keep in mind, guys, that this is a snapshot. This is one poem that, is of questionable origin, but there is some strong heathen element to it. I mean, it's definitely a heathen work, but it's not pure in and of that. And as I've talked before in a number of my videos, regionalization is a huge thing. There are some things that seem to globalize within heathenry, as far as, sacrifice, some of the festivals, general polytheism, things like that. There are some strong elements that do fairly well globalize across time and region within heathenry. Enough to say that there is some root to kind of how it was done that branched out and evolved in disparate climates to become, the kind of flavor of particular cultures. So that being said, we've got to take the Havamal kind of as what it is and not depend overly much on it. You can't sit here and be a Havamal thumper and expect to get anywhere within heathen communities, because there's going to be some stuff that just doesn't jive necessarily. At least it doesn't jive on face value. You can reinterpret it, you can look deeper in for the wisdom, and you can find it. But it does take some work. It does take some context, and it takes going deeper than just reading across the surface. That being said, I like the advice that's in the Havamal. I enjoy it. I think there's a lot of really good stuff to it, like I've said. And I want to talk some about it here on the channel. I want to bring some of it in because I do use it to impart wisdom. I do use it to remind people, like when I'm doing my heathen therapy, as it were, when I'm talking people through crises and whatnot, I will frequently use Havamal quotes to do that because they're poetic, because that kind of brings to the forefront a different mentality. It helps to kind of break things. Plus, it's something that really drills down into it and strikes something home. Can be of great value in those scenarios, especially when you're wanting to do something a little more like proverbial. You want to talk about a subject and you can give a Havamal quote and then delve into it into some depth. I mean, that's great. That's wonderful. That's how you synthesize this information. You can take it in, you can perceive it, and you can take it in, you can encode it, but you have to synthesize that information. You have to actually break it down, think about all the different elements, take in the important information, and then be able to regurgitate it in other forms in order to actually be able to understand something. Now, if you look at the runes themselves, the runes are hidden wisdom that are present in everyday life. You know, Odin sacrifices himself on the tree to himself and takes up the runes through hard work and self-sacrifice. It's a painful process, and this mirrors metaphorically our learning of the world through our own experiences. You know, it's something that nobody else can do for us. It's something that we gain, that wisdom that we gain in life just through trial in the school of hard knocks. And so if you look at that and try not to take the Havamal itself as being some ready, you know, here's heathen ethics for you in 101, if you look at it from that point of view and then start to really delve into it, I think you will get more out of this particular work. Now, the way that I would like to integrate some of this into the channel, which I plan to do going forward, is I'm going to pull some specific stanzas in chunks, and I'm going to try and pull some threads and kind of explore through some of the Havamal quotes, specifically, you know, how they play along certain themes. Now, I'm not going to pull everything, and I may not pull all of the stanzas that go along with a particular theme. Some of that would make a video particularly long, and some of it would be particularly redundant, simply because there are so many that say essentially the same thing. So I'm going to play with it some. I'm playing with formatting to see how I want to do that. But look to that in the near future. I think the first one that I'm going to look to is the stanzas that pertain to friendship and friendliness. And basically the importance of having someone near you that is important to you. I think there's some important lessons that we can pull from that are good to be reminded of. I have another one that I've pulled up that I've done at one of my park moots in the past, where I pulled different sections that pertain to moderation, and kind of created a classroom lecture kind of thing off of these particular stanzas. So that's the kind of thing that I would like to see use as an example here for you guys, so that maybe it can inform how you guys utilize the Havamal in the future. You can look at your study sessions and things like that, and not necessarily just sit down and read the Havamal straight through, but rather pick a theme and then send everybody out to look for stanzas that associate with that theme, come back together, and then everybody share those stanzas and see who got what out of what. Those are great ways to format a study session and really encourage interaction within the group. It encourages people to really think about what they're doing, to really explore the different elements of the Havamal and what the quotes can mean, what you can bring to it and from it. So hopefully that's something you guys are going to be interested in. I like people to remember that it's not Odin himself that came down and wrote these, and because you will end up with people that are obsessed with the Havamal. If it says it in the Havamal, it's 100% true. It has to be this way. And there's a lot of folly there. They become very tunnel visioned on things because they don't think more roundedly. They don't think from a whole worldview point of view. They think from a scripture point of view. And that's one thing about heathenry, is heathenry doesn't particularly have scripture. We have lore, which is a broad term that encompasses the Poetic Edda, the Prose Edda, the sagas, some of the histories. I find a lot of value coming out of things like the Icelandic sagas, Heimskringla, things like that, plus a lot of the archaeological work that's done. There's a lot of really good work that expands heathen worldview and understanding that's outside of just the straight Poetic Edda. Now, that being said, let me show you which version of the Poetic Edda I like to use, all right? Now, this is one that not everybody's going to be down with. I like it because I like the kind of poetic nature to it, and that's the Liam Hollander translation by University of Texas Press. It's the ones that put it out. As you probably can't tell from this, but this particular edition has been well worn, well used. I bring it out and read it all the time. The Havamal itself is one of the poems here in the Poetic Edda, as well as a bunch of different lays, and then some of the God stories that we have. Most, if not all, of the God stories that we have are encompassed within the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda. I like the Poetic Edda because I don't particularly care for Snorri's approach, but there are stories that are in Snorri's stuff that you can't really get anywhere else. So it's important to keep that in mind. As we go forward and we do these things, there are multiple translations, and some are better than others for various reasons. You've got to pick the translation that you like the best, that resonates with you. And it's going to be everything from the way the words flow, to the accuracy of translation, to all kinds of things. You've got ones that are in plain speech, which are great, but they may not necessarily be 100% accurate as far as translation goes. I'm not a huge fan of the Bellows translation, for example. I don't feel that it flows and resonates with me as well as, say, the Hollander translation does. Now, there's one that I do want to point out, and that is the one by Jackson Crawford. Jackson Crawford does an excellent translation. He is a great guy as far as he is an expert in the field of Old Norse studies. I think he's working with the University of Colorado in Boulder. And he knows his stuff. And so he's got a wonderful translation that a lot of people like to pull from. I like to pull from the Hollander translation just because I like the language. But I'm also the hashtag wordy bastard. And so I like some of the more make you think poetic verbiage that goes along with Hollander's translation. I do read multiple translations. I pull from just about every translation that I can get my hands on. I think Jackson Crawford even went through at one point in time and started doing the Cowboy Havamal, where he took the sayings from the Havamal and put them in kind of an Old West cowboy wisdom kind of thing, sitting around the campfire talking about, just imparting wisdom. And it's cool. I like it. It's a lot of fun. You can find it online. Just search Cowboy Havamal. And it's a fun thing. It's a neat thing. And then he goes on to do an actual real translation where he takes the core work and then translates it himself. And it's in fairly approachable speech, and it's good. He does a good, accurate translation. So highly recommend checking that one out. For my works, I'll be pulling from the Hollander translation, at least for the videos up here, just because simply it's what I like. And admittedly, it is like the first one that I came across. We often have an affinity for the original works that we come to, like the primacy effect of that first one tends to be the one that you go to the most, usually. But for the essence of what we're going to be doing here, that's what I'm going to pull from. I highly recommend, because I'm going to put the stanza numbers up and everything like that you guys go through and look at multiple translations and look to see what other insights that you can get based on other translations. Sometimes the way somebody translates a word can make a big difference on the meaning of a stanza. So keep that in mind as you go forward. Keep in mind that the Havamal is written by people. It is not written by the gods. It's not a Bible, okay? It's not a hard set thing. It is something that is, it's something to take as an inspiration and then go from there and look for the heathen elements that are in it. But do use a cautious eye when going through, because not everything is pure heathen. Some of it does have some synchronicity going on. Okay, syncretism. Sorry, wrong word. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this particular video. I love the Havamal. I'm going to be doing some videos with it. I'm also going to try and play with some of the other lore going forward and see what I can do on some videos. It'll be here and there. Those, like I said, take a little bit more work, so I'm going to be kind of interspersing those. I can't do them all back to back because I don't have the dedicated time to be able to sit down and put together a video based on this research. But I will do some here and there, as you guys are interested, provided you like the way that I go about this upcoming video. I think the first one I'm going to do, like I said, is going to be on friendship, and we'll go from there. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, hit me up below. I know you guys are going to have your own preferred translations and everything. I've looked at just about all of them, so you're not going to come up with, hey, here's a translation you haven't seen before. Probably. There are going to be some that may sneak one in and be like, that is cool. I have no idea where you found that, but I want to check it out. So, you know, if you have recommendations, please do kick them my way. But keep in mind, I have seen things like the Bellows and the Chisholm and the Hollander and the Jackson Crawfords and, you know, the main ones that everybody sees. If you come up with some kind of weird, wonky, off-the-wall one, yeah, shoot me a message. Let me know. Don't inundate me with, hey, have you seen the Chisholm translation? Yes, I've seen it about 1,000 times. I've got about 8 of them that I reference on the regular. But the Hollander's just the one that I come back to the most. So, that's a little bit about the nature of the Havamal. We're going to cut it off here, guys. I'm going to let it go. This one's maybe, it's close to the similar time. The other videos are I'm going to play with format too. I'm going to play with that other app that I got to see if I can't splash up the quotes as I go through and talk over those, so that maybe it's more than just staring at my face while I quote Havamal stuff to you. Maybe you can read along and see what I've got going on. We'll see. Formatting is going to be interesting. I'm working on those right now, so we'll see. All right, thank you guys. I appreciate everything that you guys do. At the time of this filming, we're at just shy of 1,100 viewers, subscribers for the channel. That's incredible. Cannot tell you guys how much I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Please keep the feedback coming. Give me requests. Let me know what you want me to talk about, and I will put together what I can for you. All right? Hail. Thank you. May your ancestors smile on you. All right, take umpteen jillion for the nature of the Havamal. All right, and in 3, 2, 1, let's wait. Not yet. All right, pull the stuff from the other videos for the blooper reel, because this is a video run fun. Okay, and in 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Let's jam. Hi there. I'm Eric. Where we don't scratch the face, goober. All right, and in 3, 2, 1. Let's jam. Hi there. I have a spot on the top of my head. It's red. It's fine. It's just hot in here. All right, 3, 2, 1, let's jam. There's all kinds of contact information down below if you guys want to reach out to me. There's my Facebook, my email, my Saraha. There's even my Twitter handle, which I don't know why anybody follows me on Twitter. I don't do anything with Twitter really, except for maybe occasionally post up the links. So I keep saying I'm going to go through and play with it more, but realistically speaking, I don't know. It's one more social media that I just don't have the knack of. Anyway, so today we're going to talk a little bit about crap. We're going to talk about crap. Why is the intro always the difficult part? And why do I have a red dot in the middle of my forehead? Anyway. 3, 2, 1, let's jam. Hi there, I'm Eric Wordweaver Sjerven, Goldie of the Ridgar folk here in East Texas, and that's a really weird way to do that introduction. 3, 2, 1, let's jam. One of these days, I'm gonna get me a tripod that works. I think. We'll see. All right. Hair back. Just can't hear me. Microphone. I don't know why I leave the setup stuff for the blooper reel. I guess it's just in case. Can always edit it out later. All right. Look, I have a note card. Ha! Never know when you're gonna need it. Now there's some details this time. Hopefully, I'll remember them. Ha! Anyway. All right. Now. Me. This is problematic. Coffee's across the room. Hold on a second. Come on. Noise and shaky cam. Beautiful. Just what everybody wants to see. This is great YouTube right here. Anyway. Coffee. Gotta love it. All right. Let's give this a shot, all right? We're going to do this in 3, 2, 1. Well, okay, wait. Okay. And in 3, 2, 1. Let's jam. Below and ding the bell so you stay up on the notifications. The more you interact with my video and other videos like mine, the overhead. I know you guys probably can't hear it, but it derails me. So anyway, that's what happens when I try to film a little later in the day. It's kind of ridiculous. So anyway, let's try this again. I know, it's like, ow, okay, better. And in 3, 2, 1, let's jam. Hi there, welcome to the Raven's Call. I'm Eric Wordweaver Sjerven, Gothi of the Ridgar folk here in East Texas, and I'd like to welcome you to the show. This is a show where I ramble on about different heathen-related subjects, kind of just whatever strikes my fancy at the time, sets my mind on fire. So, I'd like to, if you guys, I don't know why the intro is the one that I flub up on the most. It's like once I get my flow going, it's fine. But here I have wasted like 3 or 4 different intros just trying to get it started, and it's like 3 minutes in. It's ridiculous. All right. Snap, crackle, pop. All right, let's do this again. In 3, 2, 1, let's jam. Hi there, I'm Eric Wordweaver Sjerven, Gothi of the Ridgar folk here in East Texas, and I'd like to welcome you to the Raven's Call. Again, in 5. This is ridiculous. I swear, shouldn't be this difficult just to get started. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See, I didn't do it right. Now it's throwing me off. 3, 2, 1, let's jam. Hi there, I'm Eric.